The classic arcade game, Galaxian. I really liked it when it came out. We all did. And I think those early days of playing the original arcade Galaxian, I can smell the smell of pizza while I'm even thinking about it and watching this video. Little pizza cooking at Chuck E. Cheese or another arcade and playing a little Galaxian while your pizza's cooking. Well, it took a while for it to come out on Atari 2600, and this will be my review of that. Now, much later, we got Galaxian finally that looked like this, thanks to Gorf. Ooh! Gorf Arcade from Champ Games. And this is the pinnacle of Galaxian on Atari 2600. The graphics, the sound, the scoring, which most notably the star screen, even though it's still, and the lack of orange border that the unfortunate Atari 2600 version gave us. That, as I just said, was not the Atari 2600 Galaxian. That was the treasured Gorf Arcade Galaxian screen. But as for Galaxian, for Atari 2600, it gave us this orange background, which is okay. I think it, for the most part, it just puzzles most of us and just gives us a little bit of a bad taste when we kind of like the game and we don't know why there's this orange border. But you know, there's other versions now that you can find in your ROM list that don't have the orange border. 1983 Atari. And I hadn't played this a while because now I have the superior Gorf Arcade. But in playing it tonight, after getting through this first screen that I'm showing now, which of course starts off easy and maybe just one guy at a time coming down, I'm actually happy to say that it reminded me pretty quick after I played a full game of it and chased my high score that I enjoyed Galaxian for the Atari 2600, because after you get through a couple screens, the difficulty ramps up. Most of my deaths happen by getting rammed into the corner, like some kind of prison inmate. And you want to get that. You want to get that combination. So you get, the trick is you get more points, of course, when they're flying, not when they're stationary up there, and to not get caught into the corner. All my deaths seem to happen in the corner. Now, I know that doesn't make much for an Atari 2600 review, but I'm here to say I like this, and for the time, it was good, because the movement of these guys does increase in speed, even though it seems kind of boring. And I think a lot of us might play it for a second and go, oh, I'm bored, but if you give it a chance, it'll ramp up, and you'll find yourself going, oh, this is a decent game. And I wish I had a whole lot more to give you in my review, but what I do have for you is to show you and remind you that if you have Uno card or access to ROMs, which I'll admit I've gone that route. I still have cartridges, but I've gone that route. You can find maybe this version where there is no border. So that's nice. Oh, and look, the ship is different. And I'm playing with one hand here, so forgive my shitty playing. But that looks better already without the orange back playfield. And I'm not sure if there's any other additions. The Atari version has your number of screens that you've beaten, which I really appreciate. And it kind of makes me wish in Empire Strikes Back for Atari 2600, they'd at least give us a number on how many walkers we destroyed. At least it keeps score, the Empire Strikes Back game. But what if someone hacked the Empire Strikes Back game and you got different awards, like ranks, for how many walkers you killed? Just something to make it... It wouldn't take much more to make it interesting. One more thing. So here, you want to look for that in your ROMs. a version without the orange border. It's called ND Galaxian. That must stand for no, but what's the D? Now, one more. There's another version, mine called Galax New, that changes the game up. Look, these Galaxians look different. They look like the Galaxians in the arcade, 2001. But why did this guy include the border? Maybe I can turn it off with the directional or difficulty. No. This guy went through the trouble of making a cool hack with a more arcade-looking Galaxian, but it's still an orange border. How about we add the sound from the arcade game here? That improves it, doesn't it? Of course, that's coming from my YouTube on that video I stole from someone else, plagiarized. Boy, it makes a big difference, doesn't it? The sound. So I got a suggestion for you. Why don't you take a video from YouTube, long play of someone playing Galaxian, and then go to the version that doesn't have the border, and how about that, guys? Now you live in large. I say, old chap, do you have any Grey Poupon? Hip hip cheerio, I'm feeling like a rich man with my Galaxian sounds from the arcade and no orange border. Living the high life. Yeah, this is the way to do it, guys. Now, I don't know if you get an extra life on any of these versions, and that's a shame. Maybe you get it at 10,000, but I don't know. Well, this review didn't have a whole bunch of dirty jokes, and it didn't have a whole lot of secret video or stolen video, so that's a shame. But some of you purists may like the fact that I finally just shut up and gave a straight review. So that's all my reviews of Galaxian the arcade game for Atari 2600. Perhaps my most boring review ever, but very matter of fact. See you guys later. Get him! That's it. See you later.